Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naranchaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayatmutirayat Nashtaprayasu Abhadresu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki. Reading from chapter 2 titled Contents of the Gita Summarized, verse 40. Neha bhikramanasyosti pratyavayo na vidyate svalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Neha bhikramanasyosti pratyavayo na vidyate Svalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. Word by word meaning. No, there is not. Iha, in this yoga, abhikrama, in endeavoring, nasa, loss, asti, there is, pratyavaya, diminution, na, never, vidyate, there is, su alpam, a little, api, although, asya, of this, dharmasya, occupation, trayate, releases, mahata, from very great, bhayat, danger. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Purport. Activity in Krishna consciousness, or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification, is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed. Otherwise, the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at a loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. 1% done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%. Whereas in material activity, without 100% success, there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. There is a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 5th chapter, 17th verse. Tvaktya sudharman charana bhujam re bhajanam apaktyotha patet tatod yadi yatra kva varadam abhut amushyikim ko varta apto bhajatam sudharmata. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gains the whole world, yet suffers the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body. But work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness, even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born, being an human being, born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. This is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness. ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमो। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरो वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथवितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादां सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखावितां च। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिकाकांत राधाकांत नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमो। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to cleanse myself by speaking about this very, very powerful verse, chapter 2, verse 40, where Krishna is trying to explain to Arjuna. And as you can see, Krishna is leading to the yoga process here. And in this yoga process, as Krishna is trying to explain, the various aspects of karma yoga, and in here, Krishna makes a clear delineation about the process he lays out. If somebody follows, even if he gets entangled by the material clutches in the form of enjoyment, sense enjoyment, there is no resetting of the activity, as we see in our material benefits. In material benefits, whenever we end up doing things and whenever we want to start a new work, we always start from the scratch. But in spiritual relationship, you basically start from where you left off. And Krishna is explaining this so beautifully in this verse. And actually, Prabhupada has taken it to a very different level about explaining the karmic process. So, as we dwell more on this, we tend to ask ourselves, why are some people born with a silver spoon? And what is the law of karma? Why some people are very bright? Why some people are very beautiful? Why some people have an utter element of something as if they have a carriage from the prior actions? And that is where Krishna explains very beautifully that there are some people, when they're born to a very aristocratic family or born to a very righteous family, they tend to get a ease of actions. They don't have to face the impediments like some of the people go through. And some of the people, there are challenges in this world. There are kids which are born and their parents, they can't even take care of them. They generally drop them in a trash, and how difficult they go through in their life, in trying to wake up and make their ends meet. And that is where we have to recognize that there is a law of karma based on our pious karmic reactions we have gone through in the past, based on all the prior good karmas and bad karmas we have done. And so there is a sequencing of all this activity, and based on our karmic past, we are given a birth based on some of the deeds we have done. So, and that is where Krishna is explaining about the law of karma, as to how a person who is born, and there are certain people who are born to a very big, very rich family. They have a lot of benefits as soon as they're born. Some of their relatives, they come from abroad, and they give a bank balance so that their life is all set. There is insurance for their life. However, there are certain people who go through a lot of difficulty. And that is where, as devotees, we have to recognize what's going on. Why are, some people born with a silver spoon? And that is where there is an element of prarabdha karma. Prarabdha karma, just to give an example, if a person is studying in an Ivy League school and then he wants to do his subsequent education, whenever he goes to do his subsequent education in a lower school, which is a non-Ivy League school, you will recognize that some of his courses are waived because he has come from a very strong background, and it will be easy for him to ignore some of the courses. And likewise, if a person or a student goes from a general school and goes to Ivy League school, he has to back himself with some additional courses so that he gets in touch with the like-minded strength of the students in that class. So that is the law of karma is based on how you have perceived yourself, how you have dealt with your life. And that is where Krishna is dovetailing into the karma yoga in a way. And there is more details about this in the subsequent chapters. So whenever you do some, basic, prescribed duty, that Krishna is explaining as karma, which is actually good karma. Anything you end up doing good, so you basically get some benefit by doing that good karma, and you have to spend some time enjoying that karma because you have accumulated those pious credits. And sometimes when you do some bad karma like vikarma, then you have to deal with a kind of some sorrows or distress in your life, and once you overcome that, so that's the karma and vikarma aspect of it, based on which you have the karmic life cycle. So that's where Krishna explains urdham gachanti sastruto madhye tishanti rajasa Jaghanya Gunavittista Adho Gacchati Tamasa. That means the people who are in the mode of goodness, they go upwards. Urdhat Gachanti Sattva. That means the people who end up doing their work in the mode of goodness, they tend to go into a higher planet. And those in passion, Madhya Tishanti Rajasa. That means those people who are in the mode of passion, they pretty much stay in the earthly planets. And those in abominable mode of ignorance, jaganya, that means they end up doing animal-like activities. They go down to the hellish planets. Jaganya gunavistista adho ganchanti tamasa. So Krishna is explaining very clearly that if we lead a life of with a mode of goodness, we go up. And if we lead a life of passion, we pretty much stay where we are. And if we do jaganya, that means we do abominable work, we tend to go down. So then the question becomes, what should we do? And the general karma kanda talks about yagya dana tapasvena. That means we have to do some sacrifices, we have to do some charitable contribution, we have to do tapasya, but is that enough for a devotee? So the question becomes, is that enough for a devotee? Because a devotee, when he ends up doing something good, which is referred as karma, which is good karma, then the devotee has to come back to this planet to enjoy those fruits of those things. That means he has to take birth. And whenever you take birth, you stay within mother's womb for 9 months. And within the mother's womb, it's a very claustrophobic situation, and with a lot of difficulty, the kid and mother, they separate after 9 months of struggle. And then you have to come down to enjoy all the fruits. So that's where Krishna is coming up with a third kind of karma, which is called akarma. Akarma means a karma. It's basically a class karma. or akarma, a karma. A class karma is where you have actions, you do actions. Karma is action, but there is no reaction. There is no side, reaction. So when you end up doing akarma, that means when you end up doing uh, work based on what Krishna is telling you, what the Supreme Personality of Godhead is telling you, it's beyond karma and vikarma. It's a class karma or akarma, a karma. And that is where it produces no reactions. Like, say, for example, there are some people in the border, right, who are really fighting the war. And in the border, when these military people, under the auspices of their wish, they go and kill one or two people, they will go to jail. They will face consequences. But under the auspices of Indian Navy or Indian Army, when they go and fight for the country across the border, having pure guidance from the superior jurisdiction, bona fide authority, and they kill, 200 people, on the other side, they would get gallantry awards. So what's the difference between these two actions? The person who does work in his own will, he ends up, trying to violate some people or kill some people without any bona fide authority, he goes to jail. But the same people, same person under the bona fide of Indian Army fights and kills 100 people on the other side, he gets gallantry awards. The reason why that happens is he works under the jurisdiction under a bona fide authority. So here Krishna is telling Arjuna that you can choose to do whatever you like, but whenever I'm telling you to do something, you better do it. Because when you end up doing the actions based on what I tell you to do, you are actually doing akarma. You are actually doing akarma is a karma. That means it's a class karma, which is beyond the karma and vikarma. So what we end up doing with the direction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it has no reaction, because we are doing under the benefit of the superior authority. So when we talked about some people who are born with a silver spoon, it's actually the prarabdha karma which is coming into action, and that's the reason why they enjoy. But the purpose of our life is not to enjoy, because once the enjoyment is done, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentioned, Shine Punya Matya Loke Visanti. That means, Shine means, it actually comes from Khyana. So Khyana means decrement. Whenever you enjoy, Shine Punya, that means whenever all these punyas are exhausted by your enjoyment, Martya Loke Visanti. That means if your pious credits, you have some pious credits because you did some good work, but then all this punya get reduced, get decremented. When it gets decremented, then you come back to the Martyaloke. So that means, and then you have to take birth and you have to go through all the trials and tribulations the kids go through in the mother's womb. And all those 9 months you will be away from the Supreme. So our intent is actually not to think about all this enjoyment. This enjoyment is good to a certain degree, but they are very short-sighted actually. And devotees they understand everything. They understand the inner workings of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because they love the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That means if you end up enjoying all those pious credits you do, then it becomes decremented. Shune punne Martya Loke and Vishanti, in Bhagavad Gita 9.21, Krishna says that. So that means whenever you exhaust all your, you have to really come back. You have to come back to this world, whereas there is padam ayita vipadam natesam. That means there is sheer fear, there is danger, vipadam, in every step of the way, padam, and also this material world is dukkhalaya ashwastakam. That means dukkhalaya means it's a place of misery, and aswastakam means it's temporary. So you have to go through the trial and tribulations of taking birth, going through the cycle of Janma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadhi. And Janma is pretty suffering. Mrityu is full of suffering. Jara, old age, is full of suffering. And Vyadhi, diseased people, very lot of suffering. So you have to, so in order to enjoy, we have to go through these sufferings to basically enjoy. So the inner workings of this karmic cycle is so treacherous that, and that too, you come to a place where it's dukkhala asustakam. That means it's a place of misery, and it's highly temporary. So for this place of temporary misery place, we have to go through this cycle of birth just to enjoy the pious credits what we did. So that's where we have to recognize that is this good enough? Is this good karma, what we basically talked about, this Bata Memorial Service, the Bata Memorial Hospital, or XYZ things, which some of our temple devotees have mentioned about two people going to the fair, the Mela, and the son is detached from the father because they get lost. And then you can give food, you can give nice food. It's good, it's temporary enjoyment, but the real purpose is to unite the kid with the father. And that is where karma or good karma is not going to help us. Vikarma is not recommended anyway. But the thing which is recommended here, where you start from where you left off, is akarma or a karma. And that's where Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Prapya punna kritam lokam usita satvita sama suchinam shrimatam gehe yoga bhrashta vrajayate. That means the unsuccessful yogi, say for example you did some pious, you did some spiritual activity, you did some Krishna consciousness, then the material enjoyment came in our life. We got detached, we got into some kind of a covering, as Rampad Maharaj said on that day. Then we are unsuccessful. So Krishna says the unsuccessful yogi, after many, many years of enjoyment, so we go astray and we enjoy. And then on the planet, on the pious living entities, is born in the righteous family and aristocracy. So that means even if we end up doing some Krishna consciousness, in Bhagavad Gita 6.41, Krishna says, even if we go astray, there is hope, because we will be born in a Brahminical family or a Vaishnava family, the family of righteousness, and or we'll be in aristocracy, because there is favorable aspects which is driving us towards getting there. So that means, which Prabhupada is explaining, if you left at 1%, you will start with 2%. So that's what Krishna is saying in Bhagavad Gita 6.41. That means even if we go astray, that's why you see there are a lot of devotees who come to Krishna consciousnness in our temple. They come 1 or 2 times, they go away, and at the time they enjoy. And but the power of this mantra, the power of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, is so intrinsic in our heart that they go away. They end up doing something else. But this powerful mantra, or this love for Godhead, which they may have seen once, is entangled in their hearts. And after 2 years, 3 years, they all come back. They come back and they reunite and they restart from where they left off. However, if you are a miser, for example, or there is Prabhupada gives the example of a miser all the time, when he basically didn't really let his family members enjoy. He used to open his treasury and see all those gold ornaments he has. And then finally the miser died. When the miser died, then he was very much attached to his wealth, and he passed away, and his wife and kids, they were very distasteful towards him. After he left, he was born as a cobbler just opposite to his palace. But as he was so much attached to his to his wealth, So he was remembering, and then one day he crossed the street and came to this side and asked the guards that I was the person, and I have kept, these gold coins in certain places, and these are mine. Let me be in the palace, not be a cobbler. But they thought that this person is a mad person, and they beat him up. And because anytime all these wealth and all these things we accumulate, next time we are dead and we start all over again, all these big degrees we have, all this big money we have in the bank balance is not going to stay with us. However, as Krishna is saying, prapta punya kritam lokan, in Bhagavad Gita, that anytime you have done some devotional service, some Krishna consciousness, that intrinsic resonance is there in our hearts, and that exemplification is done by the greatest example of the Gajendra Moksha. So once Gajendra, the elephant Gajendra, in his past life, did a lot of pious work. He was King Indradumna. Actually, he's not the same King Indradumna what we see in the Jagannath pastime of Indradumna and Gundicha Mata. That's a different Indradumna. So, in the past life, Gajendra in Satyuga, he was King Indradumna. His name was King Indradumna. His name was Indradumna. He's a different Indradumna. But this Indradumna, he was always meditating on the forms of the Lord. But once, when Agastya Muni came, and he did not pay attention to Agastya Muni, and that's why Agastya Muni cursed him that, as you are not careful and you are behaving like a dumb animal to me, you become an elephant. And actually, Gajendra, when he took birth, he was so powerful, the tigers and elephants never used to trouble him. So when he got into the water, he was carefree. He was basically thinking that, nobody can really beat him up. But this crocodile, when he caught hold of his legs, he initially didn't care. He really fought, vehemently. But then he realized that he can't, do enough to really get himself out of the clutches. And at that time, he remembered about his prior birth. He remembered those prayers. Because this Ajnata Sukruti he had, that means he had this thing resonating in his heart that once upon a time, I used to pray. I used to offer prayers. And he started praying. And whenever he started praying, and actually when he was really fighting the crocodile, all these demigods were watching him, but nobody came to help him. But later when he was, thinking about the Supreme, the remembering of the Supreme, the Smaranam of the Supreme, he remembered all the prayers. And when all the prayers he was remembering, then, as Prabhupada said, he restarted from, say, 2%. He didn't start with 1%. He didn't start with 0, like this cobbler who started with 0. He started from where he left off. And that is the reason why, he was helped. That's why Prapya Punya Kritam Lokan, it's so profound. And that's where we have the power of prayers to help us. Because if you restart with the power of prayers, because Krishna is not a material person that, there is an element of business and we have this ego attached to our education, attached to our bank balance. But when you are surrendered, even if you have left off, even if you have detached yourself, and that's the reason why the power of prayers helped. And sometimes we do Ajnata Sukriti as well. There was a mice who was actually, trying to, eat the ghee on the tip of a wick which was in front of the deities. And once this wick was getting shrunk and the flame was coming down, the lordships were about to become dark. This mice, for the craving for the ghee on the wick, came, and when his mush touched the ghee and by accident touch the fire, he got worried and he left. But when he touched, the ghee came into the flame and the flame erupted. So when the flame erupted, um, the lordships were very pleased because the mice, just to feed himself, was after the ghee in the wick. But by doing that, by running away after lighting the wick properly, he got Ajnata Sukriti. So sometimes or other, we may be doing devotional service, but the benefits of that is unknown to us. But the Supreme Personality of Godhead is counting all those benefits, and sometimes when you see there are devotees who will come in by based on their Ajnata Sukriti, which which we need to mature by virtue of our practice, and we need to awaken it. However, those Ajnata Sukritis we have, you see, there are some devotees who may have left our temple or movement, but the the chord of Krishna consciousness is so powerful that it aligns. And that's the reason why there's something called sound resonance, right? Whenever these two frequencies unite at certain way, it makes the maximum noise. And Krishna consciousness has that resonance within us because we are spirit souls. As long as the chord of Krishna consciousness is connected with the Supreme through this resonating frequency, it gets awakened, it gets matured. That's the reason why, that's why they say Krishna consciousness, the knowledge of Krishna consciousness is like a mafia because they know too much. Once they know too much, you can't really get out of this. So because in mafia, as you can see, with the people who get into a mafia, they can't leave the mafia because they will, they'll get killed if they leave. So they must stay there. And Krishna consciousness, through our understanding of these laws of karma, as Prabhupada has so transparently presented it, it's very difficult to get out of Krishna consciousness once you are into it. That's why Krishna consciousness is the topmost intoxicating thing in this world, and it is spreading like anything. Because we are basically not talking about benefits between you and me. We are not talking about the jobs we carry. We are basically talking about glorifying someone else. And the laws of karma is just aligning so nicely, and we just have to restart from where we left off. We really do not have to restart from zero. We don't have to take birth again and start with Baba Black Sip again because we have to learn ABCD and 1 2 3 4. It's not like that. That's the reason why some people are born with certain pious credits, and that really helps them. And Krishna consciousness is one such thing that even if we may have left Krishna consciousness, Krishna consciousness will not take us. That's why they say you can take Krishna out of a person, but you cannot take the person out of Krishna consciousness. So it's very difficult. Once the intent and the resonating chords have been tied, it stays with us forever. And that's the reason why Krishna is telling Arjuna that whatever I'm telling you, like the army telling, go kill the enemies, as long as you follow me, because I'm the bona fide authority, this is going to take us future, because it is a karma or akarma, and that's a class karma, and there is no reaction for it. So once again, a very powerful verse Krishna is showcasing to Arjuna. As long as you end up doing whatever I'm telling you to do, there is no diminution, there is no loss, and you basically restart from where you left off. So we have a lot of hope with us, with the kind of presentation His Divine Grace has done in showcasing that we have nothing to lose. There is no loss. We just have to restart from where we left off. And once again, Krishna is resurrecting that element of confidence in Arjuna by saying that as long as I'm telling you, you have to end up doing this. There's no danger. There's no fear. Just go fight, because this is what I'm telling you. And this is a very powerful concept. Krishna is literally getting into the yogic manifestation and how all these karmic reactions work. And that's the reason why once we know this, we will not end up doing anything else. So we have a great future, and in this pious Kartik month, we can only get better at it. So with that, I'd like to end here. His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna.